Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. In this video, I'd like to talk about the dead-in-the-water Brexit trade deal with the US, consider the current position, how it might change in a few years, and wonder what it will mean for Brexit if the one thing that was supposed to make all of this pain worthwhile never actually materialises. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So just to be clear from the start, a US trade deal with the UK will not be good for the UK. Britain really, Northern Ireland will get, they're remaining in the single market. There'll be a vote in the Assembly in a few years to see whether you still want to do this, but it would be very surprising if anyone other than the DUP wanted to end that agreement, especially, given that after a few years you'd think that Northern Ireland will align itself much more strongly with the EU and away from Britain, which of course is the very thing that the DUP fear most of all, but are now largely helpless to stop after supporting the party that brought us here. Still, you reap what you sow. Except, of course, quite a lot of us are reaping Brexit without having gone anywhere near that dodgy packet of seeds, but there you go. But the economic argument for Brexit was always based on the idea of being able to do trade deals that were more tailored to ourselves on our own. In other words, we could get trade deals that were better for us. And the big prize was America, because even Brexiteers knew there was nothing to be gained from pitching any trade deal with anyone else. The EU already had trade deals with the other large economies or in the process of negotiating them. We're never going to get very much from China. And even they have agreed closer economic ties with the EU, better than we could possibly get on our own. Now, the United States is the big one, because that was possible. Not only is it the single largest economy in the world, but it's a country that is unlikely to agree a comprehensive trade deal with the EU anytime soon. Very different systems. Simple enough reason. The United States is all about the billionaires, enriching the billionaires. The EU is much more about workers. I'm not going to say it's entirely on the side of workers, the other end of the extreme, but it's much more so, and maintaining a suitable environment for future generations. So you've got deregulation against regulation. Not a lot of common ground to work with there. And both of them are large and powerful enough to not have to compromise on their own politics. But the UK could get a trade deal with the US, in theory, because the Conservatives are more than happy to scrap workers' rights, food and environmental standards, privatise the NHS, sell it to American healthcare companies. In fact, they're more than happy to do that without a trade deal. They'll do that for free. They won't even sell that for a handful of non-magic beans. And with Trump, they thought they were going to get it. But Biden is president now, and he's made a few things quite clear. One, he's called Boris Johnson, an emotional and political clone of Trump. This was not intended as a compliment. Boris Johnson took for several years it to be a compliment, being called Britain Trump. It's not so much of a compliment now. Two, Biden has said that the US is not currently in a good position to be negotiating trade deals, so he's not going to do it. Three, he said that Brexit is a bad idea and indicated that it would actually be in Britain's interest to reverse it. So basically, the US trade deal is off the table, certainly how it appears. The government will carry on boasting about how many trade deals they've completed, but it's hollow. It's only a matter of time before more of the population realise that we're on no better terms than the ones we had with the EU. In addition, we had trade agreements of varying kinds with basically the world, including the United States, before leaving the EU. We didn't have a full-blown free trade agreement with the EU, but we did have trade agreements. A lot better than nothing. So we've lost a lot of trade agreements. We've not gained anything better to compensate. Now, like I said, the US trade deal wouldn't have been better, but the government would have claimed that it was. And it would have been harder to show people this. So you can show it with the other agreements, because you can say, okay, show me somewhere in the text that's better than what we had with the EU, because those texts exist. Whereas if we had a free trade agreement with America, people would say, did we have free trade agreement with the United States as members of the EU? We'd have to say, well, no, we didn't. Oh, there you go, and it's better, isn't it? So, you can try and point out in the detail how it's actually worse than what sounds like a less comprehensive deal as EU members. You can point to the overall lower level of economic growth that we'll be experiencing. But all that takes effort to engage with. Most people don't put in the effort into engaging in an economic discussion. Fair enough. But now that Biden is president, he's been appointing his cabinet. His nomination for Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, has said that they're not going to be looking at taking down any trade barriers until the US economy has been upgraded. So that's that for the US trade deal then. Face facts, Trump did a lot of damage to the economy, and COVID will inevitably keep that damage coming until not just America, but the whole world gets on top of it. And America's got some hell of a lot of work to get on top of it just themselves. That is surely not going to take place before the 2024 elections in either the US or the UK. Because in a curious twist of fate, both the US and the UK will be going to the polls to decide their country's future in the same year. It doesn't come around too often to coincide like that. In 2016, both countries got it badly wrong. It wasn't a general election in the UK, it was the Brexit referendum, which is actually more serious. And I wonder if in 2024, both countries will get it badly wrong again, or they'll reflect more carefully on the choices. You could argue that America has made that choice in 2020, but I don't see it that way. Trump has been stopped, yes, but not Trumpism. Biden does not have a straightforward task of making life better for millions of Americans, but he needs to do it in order to persuade them to stick to the plan. If a more cunning Trump comes to the fore and points to the fact that, oh, Biden didn't make your life any better after all, did it, in 2024. So the fact that Trump himself was stopped in 2020 will have just been coming up for a bit of breath before sinking back down again if America makes the wrong choice in 24. Now, I did wonder if Biden might not seek to get that trade deal in 2023. I know it sounds impossible given his firm announcement now, because you look at the situation at face value, like he said, America's not in a strong enough position now, and you look at it and you think, well, is it really going to be in a few years' time? It's worth considering a couple of things. One, Biden says that he won't look at trade barriers until the American economy is stronger. Now, think of the reason for that. The reason is you get a better deal from a position of strength. He doesn't believe America's position is currently strong enough to get the best deal for itself. But the UK government is in such a weak position and will be even weaker in a few years' time that he could absolutely strike a good US-UK trade deal, for the US that is. He knows that the Conservatives will take whatever is offered, just so long as they can sell it as a great victory back home. A US trade deal being ratified just before the 2024 general election will give the Conservatives a huge boost and may well work on enough of the electorate. You know, it feeds into the usual Tory trick of saying, yeah, I know, everything got worse when we were in government. Yeah, it did. But actually, that was all Labour's fault, if you think about it, and things are about to get better. You know, few more months, and, you know, you just need to hold faith one more time and it'll all be brilliant. If you let Labour back in, they'll just wreck everything. A US trade deal at that point will be massive for them because it'll allow them to do that again. And there's nothing that the UK government will say no to if Biden demands it to get it. 2. Biden himself may be under pressure to deliver something big ahead of 2024. Powerful lobby groups who would profit enormously from the trade deal will want it. He may also be able to cut a deal with the pharmaceutical industry to drop prices for Americans in return for the rich plum of a trade deal with the UK that forces the NHS to pay their ridiculous prices. This was suggested with Trump in charge as to being the benefit for him. The trade deal could give the Democrats as much of a boost, arguably, as the Conservatives, only in their case, it will actually be a good deal for them. They won't even have to lie to their own people. So although it looks like the US trade deal is definitely not happening for the whole of this parliament at least, and will certainly not come to the rescue for Boris Johnson, I can still see it coming at some point before the next general election. I hope it doesn't, because it will be another mass deception that empowers the Conservatives and another blow to our economy and the NHS. But I can see the conditions for it. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.